still called Can't Be Beat. Comic reviews, extra sweet. Tune in, folks, and don't be late. Interviews that sure are great. From Kentucky's rolling hills we stream. Matt delivers every fan's dream. Claim your favorites, join the quest. Heroes for hire are the best. Superheroes, villains too. Every issue something new. Golden age or modern finds, entertaining minds of all kinds. Comic book sales you can claim. Join the club, win comic fame. Hear the stories, catch the vibe. Heroes for Hire feels alive. From Kentucky.
Man, Conan always gets the ladies. Oh, sorry, I didn't know anybody was there. My bad. I was just reading some Savage Sword of Conan. Sorry. I get caught up in it. I like my Conan. Anyway, welcome to Comic Conversations, another episode of Comic Conversations. As always, I'm your host, Matt. This is where we talk to another guy or gal that I haven't interviewed. I'd like to interview a dog. That would be interesting. I don't know if you could do that, but anyway, we got a guy tonight, Random Reads. I interview a different comic book YouTuber. As you can tell, I don't have a script. I'm ad-libbing always, so there's going to be mistakes made. But anyway, it's used to be called. I call him the artist formerly known as Random Rips. Now christened Random Reads. It's my good friend Kevin. So everybody, give him a warm welcome and welcome in,
hey,
Kevin.
Everybody.
Good to see you.
Ooh,
Thanks for being a guest.
good
Appreciate
to
it.
be here. As always.
Yeah, they caught me off guard talking about Conan and his ladies. But anyway, we got all kinds of interesting stuff going on today. We got people talking about how abysmal a failure that Daredevil is after 2 episodes. So we got all that fun stuff going on. I feel like they may have watched the 1980s TV movie with Daredevil, but
Maybe
by mistake. But I don't know.
maybe they're talking about it's a failure because
I don't know. Anyway,
I mean,
yeah, they said it was the ratings are bad.
everyone expected it to be a failure
from the
because
DC.
Marvel's been so bad lately. Then it was a failure because it's a success.
But
It's actually good.
not to call anybody out, but most of the people I've heard complain about it are big DC fans.
Yeah.
So you can take what you may from that. I think we know what I'm talking about, but it's okay. I still love you guys. All right. Besides Penguin, I'm sorry, Penguin wasn't that great. You can tell me all day, but it wasn't that great. All right. I liked it the first time I saw it. It was called The Sopranos. But anyway, so I guess we'll get into it. You having a good day, Kevin? How's everything going?
Yeah, it was a really nice
All
day
right.
here.
Well,
I actually
yeah,
had a
it's
day
about
with
72
rain.
degrees here. So, but we didn't hear coming and talk
Almost
Yeah.
80, I think, here
any
today.
day where it's not. Oh Lord. Yeah, I was almost laid out in the sun today. No, I wouldn't do that, but okay, well, we'll just get into it. As I always start off, what is your comic book collecting and reading origin story? Did your home planet blow up and your parents decided to blast you here in a rocket and you grew up in a small Kansas town? Or
Well, what is that
tell
for
us how
sure?
you got into comics.
Gosh, I have to say it was probably mid 70s. I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, and I don't have any props with me, but yeah, I went in this little store in a strip mall. It was actually like just a few doors down from the theater where I saw Star Wars: A New Hope. Like 30 freaking times that summer riding my bicycle up there. So one of those days I went to this thrift store and they had a bag of Richie Rich comics, like, the Harvey comics.
Yeah.
Hot stuff and stuff like that. And I think they were selling them for probably $10 a piece. They were tatters, because of them didn't have covers. And it was a brown grocery sack full of them, and I'm just pulling them out, going through, finding out, trying to pick the 5 I can afford to buy. And the old man and woman that ran it saw me, and they ended up just giving me the bag, the whole bag, like 30 or 40 Richie Rich
cool.
comics and stuff. And I was like, just in heaven. Yeah.
Over the moon.
Yeah. And then a couple years later, I guess 79 or 80, is when I discovered Spider-Man. And I got some of these little books. Actually, I got them right here.
Okay.
They're the comic strips. These are the actual
Yeah.
books that got me started on superhero comics. I had 3 others that contained numbers 1 through 20 of Amazing Spider-Man and the Amazing Fantasy 15, of course. So I learned about Spider-Man there. And about that time, they had remember this was about 79 or 80 in a little town in Georgia that had maybe 30,000 people. They had a Comic Con. And what it was a couple of shops from Atlanta, because that was probably the closest comic shops to us, 100 miles away. Went around the state and rented connecting hotel rooms. And it would only be like 3 rooms, and they would bring their comics in there and have a little miniature con. And now we have actual cons. But I thought that was a trip.
Yeah.
I got
But that was probably awesome as hell though back.
oh yeah, I'd never
Yeah.
seen that many
That was
comics.
probably awesome though for if you're at that age. You're like, oh hell, we're gonna have 3 rooms full of comics.
And
And now it's a
that's-
whole showroom floor.
yeah. I mean, then it was just a bunch of long box. I don't think they even had short boxes. It was just long boxes full of stuff. And I got some Peter Parkers because number 1 hadn't been out long or had just come out. So I got a few Peter Parkers, and then I ended up subscribing to Peter Parker and I think like the Hulk and Marvel Tales or something like that. Where they send them to you like folded in half in a freaking paper.
Oh yeah,
little
they
paper
put like
thing,
a poster
wrap.
mail,
Yeah, it wasn't even
like a newspaper.
there wasn't even a
like they used
bag
to-
around it.
Like they used
The mailman could read your
to- just
comic.
like they
and then-
delivered newspapers.
yeah. So that's how I got
There wasn't
started.
no thought back then.
No.
There wasn't no
Man,
thought back then about like, oh, we got to put them in bags and boards, and then like that was only for like the
Oh, yeah.
ultra.
That was
rare
just-
comic books.
that was just
what I mean?
really
like the
coming,
color page. Yeah.
Only the real serious collectors and stuff knew about that, I guess. But that was really starting because 80
Yeah.
it started really taking off. And that's about the time
Well, if you-
the comic shop popped up 2 blocks away from my house, which
Yeah.
is thinking back on it now, it's like, how in the hell did that happen? That's like a miracle.
Yeah, it's just like you're in hog heaven. You're like, what do they say? What's that old saying we say in the South? Shitting in tall cotton.
Yeah, because there was probably not
You got
another
a comic shop right in the back.
house. How does one open that within walking distance of my 11-year-old newly addicted ass?
Oh,
But I ended up sorting comics for that guy.
know
Got
what?
to know the owner. I got the card.
that's cool.
That's
Oh yeah, show us
Yeah,
that card. I think you showed it before. Show it to the audience.
yeah. There is the
There it
business
is.
card for Comics Castle. That was the first comic shop I ever went in, and that's the
Let me,
R Knight.
I'll
His
put
name
it up
was
on the screen.
yeah. What a name, Roland Knight Castle. Roland was
I know
the guy
that's
that
that's just like an awesome name. I mean, it sounds like a character in a TV show, like Private
right?
Detective, like Roland
Yeah.
Knight Castle. Yeah,
And he had been a
That's cool.
teacher, I know,
And,
and like a grade school teacher. And then he retired and came moved here from Ohio or somewhere. probably because of the Air Force base we have here. Knew somebody in the family was in the Air Force, and so he moved here and opened a comic store. And I swear his first location, the one right around the corner from me, probably wasn't 10 foot by 20 foot. I mean, it's barely bigger than my bedroom. It used to be a little Greyhound ticket seller. In fact, he still had to sell Greyhound tickets, and they still dropped the bus off right there by his shop for a few months. And he was there for about a year, and then he moved about a block further away from me into a bigger place, which was nice. And he stayed there for a while. That's where he was when he gave me an issue. Well, he got 5 copies of this new comic book in to promote, some independent thing, which the only independence at that time was Cerebus, I think. Maybe.
Well, there was some like indie stuff, but usually those books were sold. Yeah, some of those early '80s stuff though. If you found an indie, it was sold in a head shop or something.
Right. Not. But this one was being promoted and pushed pretty hard.
You know what I'm talking about? Like they had. There was another comic. Yeah.
Rip off.
What did it turn out to be? I already know. I think I already know the answer to this.
Yeah. But he got 5 copies.
Turtles, was it?
Yeah, gave me one for free because he said, this stuff, I can't sell this. Nobody wants to read this. Black and white comics about turtles fighting with martial arts. So he gave me a copy, and I put it in a bag and put it in a box, and I collected comics up till I graduated high school, and then I went to college and stopped for a few years. Lost touch with it. And during that time, he sold Comics Castle, and the new owner moved it to Macon. And it just happened to be right on my route coming home from college. I went to a community college up there. And so one day I just whipped in there, said, I'm going to take a look around the old comic shop and see what's going on. They had to date this, it was right when Sandman #1 came out. And that's when I got Sandman #1, as a matter of fact.
So like mid-'80s?
89. I think it was 89.
Late 80s. Okay.
And
89. All right.
I'm buying Sandman #1 off the shelf, day of release, and I look up and there's that damn Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the wall behind him with a $300 sold tag on it. And I was like, are you for real? That I got that damn.
Well, if everybody that maybe be younger than us don't understand, like one day it was like a little indie comic, the next day it was a Saturday morning cartoon. There was a toy line by Playmate.
It was a Saturday morning cartoon. Like and it had shot up to $300. And I'm like, man, $300. Okay, tell you what, Monty, how much will you give me for one? He gave me $300 because he had already had an offer for another one for $350 from someone. So I got $300 in store credit, and I was in heaven. Of course, now I tell you, and it was a 9.8. I promise you, this thing had never been out of the bag. It had never been touched since it came off the press. It was a real good chance it was at least a 9.4 or 5. But $10,000 or $20,000 comic, I think they go for now.
Yep. Well, I had the ASM 300. My copy was beat up by the time I realized what it was worth.
Yep.
And then it got stolen, but that's another story for another day. But yeah, so like, what was I gonna say? Anyway, but that goes to show you. I know what I was gonna say. You're talking about that. It goes like this comic book that I don't really think it's gonna do. Hey, Jigs, and you think it's like, oh, it's not gonna do nothing. That's just like the way comic books is. You can have a book that's just like, this is totally ridiculous. Nobody's gonna buy this crap. And then all of a sudden, you never know. That's the beauty of comic books. So,
you just can't predict what's going to be right and what's going to be good.
You can't, like,
no matter how badly.
Like, I can't believe they're trying to. You know, they're like, I can't believe they're trying to replace Peter Parker with this kid Miles Morales. Well, look how that turned out.
Yep.
Now we got both of them, and then like Miles, I could argue with the younger generation is probably more popular than Peter Parker is.
He is.
I'm
sure.
You know, and it's been a phenomenon really to watch. Miss Marvel was at first, but the way they've kind of developed her character, it's I don't know, but I like her though. I mean, I think she's an interesting character. I like that they had a new culture. Like, you know, we get when you get in different, like the more generations go by, you know, we get her family's like Muslim, and it's I think it's interesting. Well, okay, I want to segue into the next question, which is what do you love about reading and collecting comics?
The stories. I've just always loved good stories. I mean, my mom and dad read to me since I was a baby. I was reading before I ever got in first grade, even. I just have read voraciously my whole life. Yeah, that's why I got shelves full of books. And all them Hardy Boys books, all those Hardy Boys books really developed a love for reading and collecting. You know, that the Hardy Boys started that collecting bug in me when I was a kid. Hey, these got numbers on them. How many are there? I got to have them all.
Yeah, you got to read the next story, right? You got to have like
right. Even though they never
like that with toys. Well, I got to get this toy. Well, they got another. Yeah. Like, well, like the G.I. Joe figure.
Me,
like, oh, well, they got a new Cobra Commander figure. Yeah.
The Micronauts.
I was like that too reading though. My mom had this book she would read to me called "Look Out for Pirates," and I still got it somewhere. It's a kid's book, right? And I got so good at I had it memorized. I was 2 years old. Yeah, and mom's trying to brag on me, but you know,
the book I had like that. I think a lot of people had it. It was a Sesame Street. The monster at the end of this book.
Oh yeah, I've read that. I remember that one too.
Yeah, it was Grover all along.
I still got this book somewhere. I need to like put it up, save it for posterity.
Hey, Steve.
I'm sure I got it somewhere. But yeah, it's probably in the basement. But yeah, well, like the stories, like I've heard you talk about before, like the stories more over than the art. Like some people collect it.
Yeah. Some people collect for the art. Some people just buy for the cover and don't even read the books anymore. I can't see that. And that was, you know, one thing.
I like to do both.
When I do too now. But when I originally was collecting comics, me and my friends made fun of card collectors. I mean, why are you going to spend all that money on a card, man? You can't. It's just a picture of somebody. You can't even do anything with it. I got a book. I can read this. Now people are buying stuff slabbed with no intention of ever reading it. Which I understand. It's a collectible.
But usually the ones I've slabbed, I've already read. But yeah, there are some people who didn't read them. They just like.
In the long run, the ones that are valuable are the ones that were good stories. With the exception of
if it's not a great story. Yeah.
Nah, I guess Venom was a good story.
This right here, this could be like the greatest cover. This is a beautiful cover, but I mean, I've not heard anything good about Birds of Prey, but I just
don't know anybody that reads it.
Risen. But there's like, you know, I don't either, except for people that read it to complain about it, like people that watch movies.
Yeah,
actively watching it to hate it.
Right.
But you know what? I'm gonna do a stream on it one day.
Everything bad. I'm gonna pay money to go see a movie so I can pick out everything bad about it.
Hey Kenneth, how you doing, man? Thanks for stopping by. Kenneth's always dropping in.
Now, one thing I did do in relation to movies.
Well, like this thing you talk about the stories, like, okay, the art. Yeah, you worked in a theater for several years, didn't you?
Probably 20 years total, working as a projectionist and then later as a manager. And I got to see a lot of really bad stories because as a projectionist in the day, Now, it's digital. There is no projectionist anymore. You don't have to preview the film so nobody gets to see them in advance. In fact, you can't because they lock them bastards down from the
Yeah.
digitally. You can only show it the number of times it's going to be showed on the screen at the times it's scheduled to show. But back in the day, I would have to put the movie together, take them off the reels, the 35 millimeter film, splice it, run it onto a platter that holds at max. Well, let's put it this way. Waterworld left about that much on the edge of this big giant platter about this big around. And if it slid just a little bit, it would start coming off the platter. I hated that freaking movie because of that. I don't care how good the movie was. It just was a pain in the ass as a projectionist to deal with. But
Hey, Glenn.
we would have to put it together and then watch it. And we got paid to watch the movie, just to test it, make sure that we didn't get a reel out of order, which let me tell you, Highlander 4 is even worse when you get a reel out of order. Why is this guy alive when he died 20 minutes ago? This story makes no sense.
Did you ever do that, though? Do you know anybody ever mixed up the reels like that?
I did actually put one on the screen one time like that, actually, and people were like, we think something's wrong with the movie. I think something was out of order. So, yeah, mistakes happen. But, that only happened once out of like 20 years. So it was funny.
That's pretty good. I mean, I'm sure it's happened to other people, too.
Oh, yeah. I got in a little trouble for drinking.
Well, you got to see, so you got to watch the movies, though, before anybody else watch them.
Let me tell you the best and the worst. Power Rangers, the movie, has to be the worst thing I've ever seen. I mean, I didn't expect it to be that bad. I didn't expect much.
Gave you hazard pay.
Dude, the wires, they didn't even try to cover them up. There were scenes where the boom mic is hanging down into the frame. It was like, really? They just didn't even care, did they? But on the flip side, there was this movie that came out in 1994. I was working for Regal Cinemas, and man, there were so many good movies that came out that year. It's just incredible. I mean, Pulp Fiction and Lion King.
Pulp Fiction came out that year.
Yeah, there was that chick flick that came out that I was like, I had no interest at all in seeing. I put it together one afternoon and had to have it ready to go by that evening because we weren't open during the day at that time. And yeah, it looked like a chick flick to me, but 15 minutes into Forrest Gump, and I was turning the projector off, going to the roof of the building to blow a quick joint, and then go back down and finish it. Because that was the coolest fucking movie I've ever seen.
That was awesome the way they used the effects. Steve wants to know if you got any cool posters or memorabilia while you were working there.
I used to have tons, but it's all been sold with the exception of just a few posters here and there. I do have one of the big 1.5-hour reels, metal reels out in the garage that I've shown them streams before a couple times. I got a Kodak 20-minute, because the reels were 20 minutes each. That's, you'd put them together to create an 1.5 or 2-hour movie. Yeah, I got a 20-minute reel.
I think you showed us one night if we were in the.
Yeah, I was out in the garage because I got my Indiana Jones 4 poster out there on the wall. The Crystal Skull.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
I've never been so disappointed in a movie in my life.
I had multiples of all the first phase Marvel movies. One sheets, with the double-sided printing, the valuable ones, but all those got sold.
Yeah.
When I got laid off from my job the first time.
Okay.
But that's what we go through.
Well, I mean, you can't keep
my collection 3 times. Now I'm just rebuilding it again. But I'll never. I mean, it's I originally did. All those stuff.
It sucks.
In the 80s, I could never afford to get that back. But
It sucks
I
to
got
get, you know,
$3,000 for it in '93, and it enabled me to move out of my parents' house and start, you know, start a career.
get a fresh start. Yeah, you know, I always wanted to work in a theater. I worked at a radio station once. That was fun, but there's something about it though. I don't know if you had this feeling about the working in a movie theater, but like before I worked in the radio, I had like this preconceived notion, and it's like romantic idea of what it would be like to be a disc jockey from like WKRP, and since it's nothing like that. Everything's
What?
automated now. Even
No,
in the
my
90s, it
best
was
friend.
automated.
Oh yeah, you're talking about recently or more recently. My buddy,
In
my
the
best
90s.
friend.
This was the late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah. And
This was late '80s. He was
oh,
a
well, that
DJ
that
for
would
the
probably
local
been
rock
awesome.
station, and it
That
was
would have been
awesome.
awesome.
I used to go up
Back
there and
when I
hang
did
out
it,
all
like,
night. He was the night DJ for the rock station, Classic Rocks. Well,
and I'll let everybody in on a secret. All the songs you hear, most of the DJs you hear, except for Drive Time, they're on a satellite in New York City.
it's all a
Los
satellite
Angeles.
feed now. Clear Channel.
And then we
also
do
known
the
as
satellite feed.
Apple
And then when I do the weather or something, you know what I mean, or tell them the traffic.
iHeartRadio. iHeartRadio bought out Clear
Thank you.
Channel, turned them all into a bunch of satellite feeds.
Yep.
No,
And we're
no
not even
local
allowed to play like.
personality.
But
None
I
of the
will say
good
this: one of the best times I had was we were doing a high school football game and we lost the feed. The satellite went out.
Yeah.
Everything from the remote went out, and I had to figure out something to play. The satellite wasn't working, and I got all these old vinyl records they had out and started playing like deep cuts of Leonard Skinner and like Alan Parsons Project and Dark Side of the Moon, and they're calling like, "Why are you playing the whole entire side 2 of Dark Side of the Moon?" I said, "The satellite's out. I got to do something."
Yep. And that's the thing. See, you couldn't get away with doing that even where my buddy worked at. They had a program director, and I still know the guys. The guy Nathan. I know of him anyway. He never was a nice guy. We'll just put it that way. He was a jerk. But he was a music program director at the station, and basically it was just as bad as you were saying about satellites. Here's the list. This is what you play. You do not deviate from it. You do not take requests. Take requests. Tell them you'll get around to it. If it's on the list, they'll hear it. If not, they won't. And that's the way it goes. He had no freedom at all.
We don't really take requests. They don't really take requests. Yeah.
No,
That's true.
They'll tell you we're going to try if they can't do it, and if it's a song on their rotation, they'll tell you, yeah, I can do that. We'll have it up before you shortly, and whenever it comes back on rotation, you'll hear it. That's how it has always worked. Now there are some local independent stations. Even today, we got one here in Macon. I mean, they're slow power stations, but yeah, they'll do that. They're they're not even. SBC could care less about them, so they get away with stuff.
I don't think they do it now. I think it's all digital now because it's been a while since I worked. But they used to give these CDs.
Yeah,
and there would be all the songs.
I still got a bunch of them back here on the shelf.
I got a few somewhere, and then
my buddy was working there when Jane's Addiction and Red Hot Chili Peppers, Mother's Milk, and all of them started becoming really, really big. And they got and Pearl Jam. I got all those promos because he would give me the CD and go, "Dude, I don't know." Jane's Addiction was the best one because he's like, I don't know if I like them or not, man. Listen to this and tell me what you think.
Well, like the Rick D's in the weekly top 40.
Oh, yeah.
Those are CDs they send you in the mail every week.
Oh yeah, I've got a bunch of the King, the Power Hour, King Flower Power Hour.
Yeah. Hey, Angry Otter.
All the old concerts.
Yeah, we used to get you get the promo disc, like they sit in a single or something. But my station was more easy listening, so you weren't getting no Jane's Addiction. It was like Celine Dion and shit like that. And one of the coolest things that ever happened was we won. We gave away some Garth Brooks tickets one time, but because we had like 2 stations in one area, and I had to work the country station that day.
him
But,
being my
I
buddy,
mean,
if I wanted to go to a concert, I was in. That's how I went to a lot of
hell yeah.
concerts in those couple of years he was working there. Yeah, man, you're the sixth caller. Sure.
Yeah,
Too bad I
yeah,
could only win once a month.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. So,
But
what
yeah,
are some of your,
one more thing.
go ahead.
The coolest thing we did while he was at that station is, this was the age when we went out and partied with our friends every weekend. Every weekend there was a party
Yeah.
going on somewhere. Got music, got the radio playing or something. Well, me and my buddy got together in the studio, where they recorded the little promo tracks for the advertising.
Yeah.
And do the loops and do mixes and stuff in the old recording console. And we sat there and recorded a whole 90-minute tape that I brought in, a blank tape of him being the DJ and playing whatever the fuck he wanted to. He had Slayer, Megadeth. He's like, and then he starts going, man, fuck this shit. Fuck Nathan. Fuck 96 Rock. Or, he's like, fuck this radio station. I'm going to play whatever the fuck I want. I'm barricading myself in here. And just made a whole fake tape. And then while he was on the radio at work, I go to the party that weekend and stick it in my buddy's tape deck when nobody's really paying attention and just start it playing. Like, this is the radio right now. This is what we're listening to. And people started flipping out. Dude, that's fucking Keith. He's at work, man. He's tripping out. Listen to the crap he's playing. Everybody thought it was the radio for real. So much so that one of the guys said, dude, I'm going to call him. He's at work right now. I got to call him and see what's going on. So I was like, oh, I know the number here. Let me see. And I called him up and said, dude, play along with it. Everybody's listening to that tape we made, and they think it's real. He had them going good, man. Finally, the tape ended, and they're like, what happened?
They kicked the door in on him, dude. They fired him. That's probably what happened.
Shut him down.
Yeah, well, you know what? He wouldn't really be crazy enough to actually do that on the air because he could get fined by the FCC if he started saying, fuck this guy, blah, blah. It wouldn't have been the station. He would have got fined personally, too. Because I was warned about it like several times. So, every now and then it's okay, like you just make a slip, but yeah, you can still get in trouble for it if like there's a lot of people listening. They call and complain to the FCC, unfortunately. Okay. Well, you kind of talked about Sandman earlier. I know that's one of your favorite series, but could you name some of your favorite series? Like what are you into? What you used to be into? Or
well, it was all about Spider-Man. Most of the 80s, New Mutants, Teen Titans. I really loved both of those titles. I was never a big Batman or Superman fan. I liked a little bit of Batman, but barely bought much DC. Sorry, DC fans. I was more of the Marvel guy until Vertigo, until Swamp Thing, actually, I should say. I was buying Swamp Thing. And Alan Moore took over and just showed us a whole new way comics could be done. What they could tell with the comic.
Oh, it was a groundbreaker.
Yeah. This ain't your kid's
not
comics.
Alan Moore, but
This isn't your dad's comics anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there was
number 3.
Watchmen, V for Vendetta. Speaking of movies, it was the first movie I ever saw in IMAX. It was V for Vendetta. Yeah, that was glorious.
That's a good
IMAX.
movie.
When he started blowing up the buildings and doing the symphony, that was just holy cow, man. In IMAX, that was pretty awesome.
I know. I mean, I saw I can't remember it was one of the Star Wars movies in IMAX. The new trilogy, I think, and I was like, "Whoa, this is the only way to watch a movie." Or like, I remember watching Dark Knight Returns.
Wow.
In IMAX, and I was just like, "We got to watch it again." And it was like, so we got to go back in line.
Now it's like every other time I go to a movie, it's in IMAX because they're everywhere.
Yeah, I know now, but back then it was like a special treat, though, right? You know what I mean? It was like a special
We had
treat.
to go 100 miles to go to an IMAX theater to see V for Vendetta. Had to drive up. In fact, the theater we saw it at is I don't think it's the same theater, but it's right near the Perimeter Mall Theater in Atlanta where they filmed Stranger Things. The mall
Oh,
that they
okay.
used for Stranger Things. That was a closed down mall that they, or partly closed down,
Okay.
and they took the closed down part and turned it into the set for Stranger
An
Things.
actual mall. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to drive
Yeah.
by
There's
that mall every day.
I didn't know that that's where they filmed the mall scenes at. I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's cool. I know they do a lot of filming in Atlanta. I know a lot of the Marvel
yeah.
movies they do in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And
When I lived up there in 2019, I delivered pizzas, and one of my deliveries went to, I forget, Studio 311 or something like that. It was one of the big studios up there. Basically, it just looks like a whole bunch of aircraft hangars lined up because they're all
yeah.
sound sets, just like out in Hollywood. And
Well, it's not even
no indications of what's
Oh.
going on, who owns it,
Yeah.
what company. You don't know if it's Fox, who it is. It's just, they keep all that stuff secret. And I get there and I can't go past the gate. So I had to wait for the girl to come out and get her pizza. She was carrying a spear, dressed up all freaking like a tribe member of some African tribe or something. And when I saw Black Panther, I was like, there she is.
Oh, it was Black Panther.
One of the background people in Black Panther with the chick, all the black chicks with the spears. I was like, well, cool. I know what movie she was working on now.
I did the pizza, the one of T'Challa's bodyguards.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cool, man.
I even asked her, I said, so what movie? She goes, I can't tell you. You know
that. It was kind of obvious, though, I guess, when the movie came out. You're like, yeah, okay.
I saw the first trailer for the movie. I'm like, well, that's the movie she was working on.
No doubt. Had the same probably costume, right? The same get up that they had.
Yeah, because there was dozens of them, I think, in the movie with that same get up.
Okay. Well, I got another question. We're all about the hard hitting journalism here.
Yeah.
Don't forget about that. Like what time? When did you decide? Like you were sitting around one day, I guess the house is like, you know what? I'm gonna start a YouTube channel. So what was the chrysalis of this? The birth.
That would be because of one of my other hobbies I picked up recently is gardening. During the events of 2020,
Say no more.
We were sitting in the house with nothing to do and thinking about growing some food. So I started watching YouTube channels on gardening. And one of the guys I started watching a lot, Gardner Scott. I still like watching him sometimes when I think about it. He had a membership option where he had members only live streams where you could get answers from him directly, and I joined up and I saw what he was doing with this, and there were a lot of other small time gardeners I watched doing YouTube videos, so I figured, what the hell, I'm going to try that. Just something to do.
Yeah. And my cousin,
the gardening,
my cousin does that. She does she's got like a homesteading YouTube channel.
Yeah, I watched a few of those. That's a couple of the gardening ones actually became homesteading ones because they got so deep into it. But I don't know. I got back into collecting cards and started watching their channels, and they were all doing these breaks and ripping cards and doing stuff like that. Because I became a card collector 89, 90. I was doing comic books and cards. And I walked out of my job at Burger King. One of the first jobs I had after I graduated high school was Burger King. I went from flipping burgers to being a maintenance guy, which means I was getting paid like $12 an hour just to work 2 nights a week maintenance, but I was still making $12 an hour when I was flipping burgers too. So I was like, got it made. Everybody else was like, yeah, you suck for that, man. But we had a great manager for years that I worked there that helped me learn all that stuff and get in that position and be able to do that. He was one of those guys that a good manager for young people starting out. He was perfect at that job. Everybody loved him. He got the business running better than any Burger King in the state. So, of course, they promoted him to this special guy that goes from crappy Burger King to crappy Burger King and making them good.
And it makes it better. Yeah.
Which means he left our stop. And what they put in his place? The crappiest ass manager you've ever had in your life.
Of course they did.
And he tells me the first weekend, he's like, I come in to do my Friday, because I did Friday and Saturday nights to relieve the regular maintenance guy. You know, I do all the deep cleaning late at night while closed. And he says, I need you to do this, and have this list of stuff. Now, my job was already tight. I didn't have time to do all that extra stuff, and he knew it. And he was like, what is all this? He goes, well, the health inspector came by, and they said if all this isn't done by Monday, they're going to shut us down. I said, well, then you need to let the other guy who's here right now and says he has no problem doing it to clock in for a few hours and get this stuff done, because I don't have time to. No, you got time to. No, I really don't have time to. Yeah, sure you do. And this was on the phone. He wasn't even there. I said, I'll tell you what, man. You come down here and you see if you have time to. Because I quit. And I hung up and walked out. I already had a job lined up working for the football card section at the card shop. So that was a really easy decision to make. And that was one of the coolest and best jobs I ever had. And I did that for 10 years while working as a projectionist at the theater. So I would work at the card shop in the mornings and then go to the theater and work a 12-hour shift there. And dude, I just loved it. 2 really great jobs. Yeah, wonderful time of my life. I really miss it a lot. And everybody that worked at that card shop was like family. I mean,
yeah.
And one of the reasons I'm on YouTube is because none of them are with us anymore. So when I got back into card collection,
didn't really have nobody friends to share it with.
Exactly.
Sorry, man.
Yeah.
That's kind of the reason I got into it. Was I didn't really have anybody to talk to about it. Like all my friends had moved off or didn't care about it. And, I was like, yeah, sorry for your loss, Kevin. Aaron speak for all of us. It's hard to lose friends anyway. And I don't know, man. It's just it sucks getting old. That's all I'm gonna say. It sucks getting older.
That's the truth.
It's just
watching your friends grow up. Yeah.
Well,
either you go or they go. One's gonna happen.
Yeah. I met, but you know what's great about it too is like it kind of segues into the next question about what you like about it. It's like the family thing. Like I kind of consider you guys almost family. You and Aaron and Crazy Hungarian and Will.
I could care less about ever making a dime. It's about the people.
Well, I just enjoy talking about comics with people. Like that's why I did this show, so I got to know. Like, I mean, I know you a bit better than I do some of the people that come on the show, but you still get to know more about. Like, I want to know why people collect, why they get into the YouTube about comics or collectibles, and it's just always it's interesting. It's interesting what you because everybody's got their own view. Like, me and you, we're talking about Daredevil, and talking about how great it is, and you got people like going all over it. So, yeah.
There it is.
But I'm gonna tell everybody about that. Just to do a little quick public service announcement. Don't listen to what other people's opinions are about movies. Don't listen to mine or Kevin's opinion or anybody else. Go watch it, decide for yourself, because they can poison the well. So that's just my PSA for the day. But okay. So
right here, this picture is Nancy. That's Nancy Pritchett. She was the owner of the sports card part of the shop. Right in front of where she's standing.
Okay.
Yeah, right in front, and coins, every kind of collectible. I mean, dude, if you walked in with something and called it collectible, we'd look at it and make you an offer. Some of the stuff that my boss, her husband, bought and sold was just, well, some of it might have even been illegal.
I'll tell
Elephant
you what about
ivory.
Daredevil. Aaron, Daredevil's awesome. Watch it. That's all
Yep,
I
it's
can
on right now. It started at 9 o'clock. I'll be
Yep,
watching
I'm
it
gonna
in just a little while. But Nancy, she loved the Braves. She knew her sports like no woman you ever met. She was a wonderful person, like a second mom to me, you know. Right over here on the edge in front of her is the safe, which went almost to the ceiling. And the stuff she had in that safe would be worth millions now. There were 6 Michael Jordan rookie cards in it.
Dang.
She would
That's
buy
why
Michael Jordans. Back then, they were about $2,000 for a nice one. This was pre-grading, so they weren't even grading cards back then. They were grading coins. That's the when you said slab, you were talking about a coin. That's the only thing they slabbed back in the early '90s and late '80s. And she would pick out the best ones. She would sell the lesser quality condition Jordan rookies, but she would keep the best ones. So I know the ones she had would have all graded high.
Yeah, so I guess they've probably all been sold off by now, huh?
Well, yeah, I sold everything in the shop after her husband passed away. She wasn't able to maintain the shop anymore without him. So after a couple of years of working at the theater, she contacted me one day and said, "Here's the keys. Bring me some money." And I went through and sold
about it. So anyone that thinks Daredevil's bad needs to reevaluate some shit in their life.
Yeah, right.
I'm telling you, I think they watched the Daredevil made for TV '80s movie, and by mistake or something. I don't know, but I don't know. Everybody just hates on Marvel now. I think it's like the thing to do. Everybody wants to pick on Disney because they don't like the big bad mouse because they're woke.
All these concerts.
Let's just be honest about it. Okay, what are some of your favorite artists and writers, Kevin?
Well, Neil Gaiman has been my favorite for decades, and that doesn't change, you know, just because of things happening. That right there is my best friend of 30 plus years. Dungeons and Dragons, comic books, cards, everything. He passed away right before 2020, September 2019 is when he passed.
Mm.
Way too early. He was only 62.
Yeah, that is too young. But
he smoked his whole life. Took naps in the boss's chair while the boss was away.
Hey, well, he sounds like my kind of guy right there. Sounds like my kind of guy.
Everybody hated him. He was a grouch, and he could be a real pain in the ass. But he was a good
friend. I like the sound of him even more now.
Right.
I can be the same way. I can be the same way. You know. I like taking naps. I can be kind of grumpy if you wake me up in the middle of a nap. You know. I've probably been grumpy on here a couple of times, but you know, so I apologize for that. I'm just kind of I kind of get my, as Kevin knows about me, I kind of get my gears grinded about certain things, and I try not to talk about it on here, like the Daredevil thing. It's just that right before we did the show, I didn't mean to make this interview show about Daredevil, but like I just seen a lot of negative bull crap before I started the show about it, and I'm like, where'd this come from? Because me and you and like everybody else talked about it and said, okay, well, maybe there's a couple of things I didn't like that they did, but overall it's pretty awesome. And they're talking about, oh, the ratings are in the dirt and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, whatever, dude.
I don't know. I'd have to look at that myself. I think they're doing pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that there's some people that just have an axe to grind with the MCU.
Yeah.
All right. What are some of your favorite artists and writers? Well, you said Neil Gaiman. I'm sorry, I already asked this question. You know, and that's another thing I'll say about Neil Gaiman. separate the art from the artist. You have to,
Right.
because I don't
And
agree with everything Larry
to me,
Hama
it's
talks
easy
about.
to do when it's a writer,
Yeah,
when as long as it's not somebody in front of the camera. I mean, it's kind of hard to do when you're talking about an actor because you're looking
it
at
was
their
hard to do
face.
with Bill Cosby. I'll be honest, because
That's what I'm saying.
Bill Cosby helped raise me.
Safety.
You know what I mean? The Cosby Show helped raise me. He was like my
Yeah.
TV dad.
And I really wish
And
I could, but it's hard to
like
do with.
I
But-
just it's hard. It's kind of hard to forget it, man. It's kind of. I mean, yeah, I guess it is a writer because he's not like first and foremost because if I invalidate the writer, that means I have to invalidate all the actors or voice actors that were in movies or cartoons that this person wrote. And Coraline's a great film.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. It's a great story. It's it's got stuff for adults and kids, and yeah.
Sandman
some of
is
your
one of the great
artists,
comic books, and Good Omens is one of the great novels.
So what are some of your favorite artists?
Well,
I
that
know
goes
the
along
answer.
with the writer with Alan Moore and
Yeah.
Bernie Wrightson. Yeah, I loved Swamp Thing to begin with because of Bernie Wrightson, and then of course because of Alan Moore's writing.
Swamp Thing's one of the greatest characters of all time. I even love the Adrian Barbeau movie.
Yeah. And
As a
Claremont.
matter of fact, I'm going to review
Claremont
it.
was probably my first writer that I knew his name and knew him when I read him. New Mutants, X-Men titles when Claremont was writing. And I haven't read X-Men since Claremont wrote them. to be honest.
Well, you're not missing much, really.
There's too many.
Although
it's
the Uncanny one's not bad right now, but
Yeah.
But it's not Claremont. It's never going to be Claremont. It's like trying to compare apples to oranges.
Oh yeah.
You know
But
what I mean?
from Claremont, yeah, I went pretty quick to the more what you call complex story writers like Alan Moore, Gaiman, Jamie Delano's run on Hellblazer.
Garth Ennis.
Garth Ennis has run on everything he ever wrote. Preacher, in particularly, I loved Preacher.
Oh, yeah.
And that
I remember when
TV
I
show
was in
was
college.
great. I just wish it had continued on the path it started on.
I remember in college going to the library. They had all the graphic novels of Preacher, and I read every one of them.
Oh yeah.
And I read all the Robert Kirkman as a collected.
The Walking Dead.
Yeah, Walking Dead. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, Aaron, because there's two main types of comics I like. The ones I was just naming, and Disney, Uncle Scrooge, Donald Duck. So I like them really dark or really light. And in between, we got Amazing Spider-Man.
You know what's great about this show, this episode today, though? I had all those list of questions like, what's your favorite other hobbies, what stuff you collect, movies. We already covered all that. Some music. Yeah. So that's why I like it when you can get some interviewers, you have to like pull it out of interviewees, right, or you have to pull it out of them. But like me and you know each other pretty well, so it's kind of
about themselves. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
A little touch of narcissism, maybe.
I don't know. I know I have. I got a motor mouth, and
right.
I actually serves you well in radio or like doing streaming or something like that, or if I was on TV or something, I guess it would.
Exactly.
I don't have to worry about like. I know some people like are real meticulous about making scripts, but I kind of think it's more like genuine.
I tried that. It doesn't help me. It hurt me more than it helped me.
I end up like this.
To go by a script, and I'm like,
I end up like this.
Forget it.
I end up like this. What else do you collect besides comic books? You know, do we got any questions from Oh yeah, he does. He loves Disney too. Which say Carl Barks, I know, is one of your favorite artists.
Yep, Carl Barks, art and writing. Just such good adventure stories. I like a good adventure story. It goes back to the Hardy Boys. I'll still pull out my Hardy Boys books and read a Hardy Boys. I can read one in a couple hours.
Oh yeah. Hey, does anybody in the chat have a question for Kevin before we wrap it up? It's been a great show so far. But while we're doing that, look, you can tell us what's going on your show, your channel, your show. You got the, you know, you have the trivia.
Yeah, right now I'm concentrating on the trivia stuff on Monday nights, getting it working and figuring out all the ins and outs of that software I use, which every week I learn more. And they keep introducing other stuff, so hopefully it'll keep it fun and entertaining. I'd like to have a good. I've always liked trivia and game shows and stuff. I'd love to work out like a Jeopardy show where I could have, 3 people on and do a comic book Jeopardy type thing. But
You got a question from Aaron. You got a question from Aaron here.
Favorite era? It would have to be the 90s Vertigo era, whatever you want to call that.
Era.
Yeah. That all that run. I mean, when Vertigo was introduced, I bought every title. Even the bad ones, and there were some pretty bad ones, I admit.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep reviewing books. I just haven't read a book in about 3 weeks, so I haven't had a chance to review one. I got to find time. And right now, I'm getting my garden ready, so I'm going to be planting and getting that going. So it's going to be hard.
And everybody, when you put Kevin's link, he's got you got a gardening channel too, don't you?
Yeah, I don't do anything on it though. It's just there with the stuff. That way, I have it's my burner account right now, so I can help people get us extra sub when they need it. And where I can throw up my when I go to a concert and do videos, you can go there and see some of the videos because I don't want to risk copyright on my.
That's a good. That's actually a good idea. Yeah. I thought about starting another one just for like watching YouTube.
Yeah.
But I've kept the same account. I just changed the name. So far, it's worked. But I probably need to start another one. I had an old one, but I don't know what happened to it. It's probably still.
The only thing about having the second one is it confuses the hell out of StreamYard. StreamYard wants to always show that I'm Georgia Gardner Kevin, and I'm not. I'm logged in as Random Reads everywhere else, but for some reason it doesn't register that. Then sometimes I'm looking at videos and I realize I'm leaving a comment and I'm not on the right account.
Yeah, I'm free, Aaron. If you want me to come on, I got your box today in the mail. I could show it to you. And I got stuff from Sam, man. You want to go over there with him later, Kevin?
Yeah, sure.
Sounds like fun to me. I'm always down for a stream. You know me. That gives me a good excuse to play this clip. Because you know what they say about there, Matt, how can you stream so much? You know what I say to them?
I can do this all day.
Do this all day.
It's true. I can do it all day.
Yeah.
But I'm not so successful. I'm not so successful with the ladies because this is my pickup line.
What do you say we go out on a date? Have some chicken, maybe some sex. See what happens.
For some reason they don't like that. I don't know.
I like him. I forget his name.
Yeah, he's hilarious. All right, we'll give you about a half hour. If there's not any more questions, we're going to just sign off. But I will remind you that next Tuesday, my guest will be Flat Earth Santa. He's a new and up and comer to the YouTube game, and he's one of my close friends now. He's actually a dear friend of mine from Canada, and good guy. And maybe we can get a little sub push for him off this if he comes on the show and does the interview. It should be fun. And he's going to have to it's going to be kind of ironic because now he's got to make his own thumbnail because he's the guy that makes the thumbnails for this very show. So now he's got to do his own thumbnail. So that's interesting. I said, that's the only time I've never had to send him a logo to make a thumbnail up. So that's kind of fun. And Kevin, it's been a pleasure, man. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, it's always fun, man.
And before I go, I guess I better let everybody know. My doctor's appointment has been pushed to the 20th, so there will be a claim sale tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have a lot of $2 books. Probably some of them you've seen. I have some maybe you haven't seen. Some other stuff I'm going to put in there that I had last week. Got some absolute Batman stuff and Superman, absolute Wonder Woman #1. It's going to be a good price, although the book is kind of pricey now. what's going up. And then, of course, we have tomorrow. We have the Comic Lounge hangout. It'll be tomorrow at no, not tomorrow. It'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. Sorry, Thursday. And then, of course, Sunday we have the Sunday Super Show Extravaganza at 6 p.m. Eastern. Kevin is one of my co-hosts, along with Flat Earth Santa and Swag Doug Eastern. Episode 4 of Matt and Joe's Bad Cinema, the show I do with the Crazy Hungarian. And guess what we're going to be reviewing? For your height only. He's tough. He's tender. He's 3 feet tall. So be sure to check out that episode. That should be a good time.
That'll be a good one.
And if I get the kicks, I might have to have like you come on and be like a special guest host just to play the video clips, because it seems like when me and Joe do it just don't work out.
Yep.
So if Joe doesn't have any objection to it, we might let Kevin come on.
Yeah.
And I'll send him the links to the clips, because he doesn't have to seem to have as big a problem and hurdle with it, as I do. And like, yeah. Dirt Nap Collectibles they got, yeah.
Huh.
Cool.
Hadn't heard that.
That's gonna be interesting. Well, and as you know, Kevin's got a show at 9 p.m. on Monday, and look out for his videos. He does a lot of like shorts videos, and he does like haul videos where he goes out and he will actually go to Ollie's and stuff. And yeah, well, see, there you go. My partner said it's okay, so there you go. I had to ask him, but yeah, I'll have to put like special guest star Kevin on there. We might have to just like Matt, Joe, and Kevin's Bad Cinema. I don't know. We'll have to change the title maybe. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys.
Hold on,
Until
one
next
thing,
time.
Matt. Just,
Okay.
Just a second, Matt. Let me ask you something.
Okay.
Hell, I lost it. What do I do with it? Well, I closed the secret thing. Just a second. If paper beats rock, rock beats scissors, and scissors beats paper, what beats all three at the same time?
Say it again.
If paper beats rock, rock beats scissors, and scissors beats paper, what beats three, all three at the same time?
I don't know.
It's Chuck Norris. And he did not turn 85 yesterday. 85 turned Chuck Norris. Did you hear that explosion? It was Chuck Norris blowing out his birthday candles.
Uh-oh.
Chuck Norris doesn't blow out birthday candles. They surrender their flames willingly. And Death once had a near Chuck Norris experience.
I bet that scared the hell out of him.
At 85.
And still a badass.
Right? Happy birthday, Chuck.
Happy birthday, Chuck Norris.
Had to throw that out there.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. And, so until next time, true believers, Excelsior.
Oof.